All right. Welcome, everybody. I am excited to do this exercise. I've done it personally for probably about 6 years. Every year I have a different word, and every year there's something really powerful that comes out of the word. So I titled this Finding Your Inner Compass. It's a word of the year exercise. And so finding your inner compass is really about identifying that deep need within you and that deep longing within you to be guided, right? Often, and I've said this multiple times, but often we get bounced around by all the inner workings of daily life, of kids, of work, of family, of social situations that are coming up. We just get bounced around a lot. So it's challenging for a lot of us to stay grounded and to stay centered and to trust that there is some guidance inside of us. So not only is today about setting an intention, but it's also a plan, because I'm not really interested in New Year's resolutions. I tried that. I mean, it worked when I was in my early 20s. And it's like, it's not going to work anymore. I want to dig deeper into something that really lands for me, embodies in me, and provides something larger to the community and to my family. So that is not boxing me into, oh, I want to work out every day, or I want to, it's more about what is something that will help me generate more energy, more expansiveness, more wisdom, more groundedness to be the better person that I want to be for the people in my life. So, this full disclosure, this is not my material. This is not my material at all. I took this from Christine Kane. She's the author of Soul Sourced Entrepreneur. She's brilliant, lovely human. She's a life coach, has a whole lot of information if you want to look her up online. So again, full disclosure, this is not my material. But she talks about this idea of freedom to be, do, and have, right? Often we get into this, again, like I said, this cycle of it seems like it's mostly the do, and sometimes it's the have, but rarely is it the be. And so what I want to invite you into is the melding of all three. Because what would it look like if you lived your life in the present moment to do things that had future oriented goals and ideas in mind, and then to have the things that sustain you? And I don't mean things, I mean relationships, a grounded sense of self, courage, um, and it might be financial stability, but it's not about the financial stability. It's about the groundedness, it's security, the safety. Your nervous system can relax, right? And so things I want to remind you of. There are traps that I want you to be cognizant of as we go through this exercise. We all have these things called cognitive distortions. It's the ways our brains work. And so it's the thing that limits us from being our full selves, because there's a lot of narratives in our head about what we can and can't do, about what we can and can't have, what we can and can't be, right? And my argument is you just got to clear away all the noise to get to your true self so that you can have, be, and do. So here are some of the traps as we're going through this exercise. I actually noticed this when I did this the very first time. Almost every single one of these I got trapped into. And so fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. So if I choose a word that doesn't really resonate with me, or that I'm afraid that someone else is going to want or do, or they're better at, or I'm going to miss out on something if I choose this word, like you don't want to narrow yourself into just choosing one. Doubting your truth. I think a lot of us do this just by nature. Like I said before, there's a lot of noise, and the noise could be societal expectations, it could be family dynamics, it could be your own narrative about what you think you quote unquote should be doing. And the should again is a cognitive distortion. So doubting your truth, doubting that deep well in within you that says, like you know what you know. If you get clear about it. Clutching and clinging. So um I chose a word a few years ago and I thought to myself, all right, this is it. Like this is going to be the word. It's going to change my life. Everything's going to get better. And um, I was so attached to it. And I was so attached to it in the ways in which I had the frame of reference for. Like I had a description and an idea of what I thought the word was. So here's here's an example. My word was peace. And I thought peace was just going to be like easy. Like things are just like fine, right? I'm peaceful. It was not that. It was that I needed to make peace with things in my life, right? I had to reframe what the word even meant and apply it to my life. So don't get wrapped up and cling on to the what you think the word means right this second, and that let it morph and grow and change and evolve. Commitment fears. For those of us who, again, don't want to choose one word because there's so many words out there that could be fitting. If you can, just try to just notice it, let it go, notice it, let it go. Really sink into on a body level, and we'll do a like a breathwork exercise to get you really grounded. But the commitment of what if this is the wrong word? What if there's something better? And then micromanaging the how kind of goes back to my example with peace. Micromanaging the how is there's this radical responsibility I want you to take in your life while simultaneously being open and accepting of the ways in which that word wants to navigate you through the world and through your life. So a lot of us who have anxious nervous systems, we want very much to control things, right? We want them to look a certain way, we want them to feel a certain way. And if it's not that, then it just sort of feels like we're in this flurry. If you micromanage the how, you limit your ability to be open to what's possible. And there's no judgment around it. So if you notice that you're really clutching and clinging or micromanaging to the word, all you just notice it and then recalibrate. Just notice it and recalibrate. Okay. Okay, so here's an idea generator. Before we get into the idea generator, I just want to take a moment to sort of get grounded and get present with what the activity is, with where we want to go with it. If you're open to it, you go ahead and close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, that's fine. Essentially, just get present. Be here now. And you can be somewhere else later. Okay. And it might be a few deep breaths where you just sort of inhale. And as you notice your breath, what I would love to invite you to do is just breathe without forcing the breath to be anything different. I want you to just accept it for what it is. If it's shallow, okay. If it's deep, okay. If it's in your heart or in your chest, okay. Or your belly. We don't need to change it. Just let it be. And as you notice the breath, the inhale and exhale, what are you curious about? Like, what qualities does the breath take? Does it feel strained? Does it feel relaxed and easy? Does it feel forced? Are you distracted by my energy and my facilitation? It's just, you just notice, right? This is your opportunity to get really connected to you. And if it feels natural, I would love to invite you into asking the breath to exhale slowly. The exhale is where the juice is. The exhale is where it engages our parasympathetic nervous system. That's where it helps calm down your vagus nerve to say, you're okay, you're okay. So just keep noticing and being curious. And as we move into the activity, we're going to discover what word really resonates for you and your nervous system. What is it that you long for or need or desire for the year ahead? What does your body need? What does your spirit need? What does your mind need? Okay. When you're ready, feel free to open your eyes and come back to the here and now with vision as part of your here and now. So we'll start with the idea generator. And these are just examples of words. You can come up with any word, right? These are just examples that can guide you forward. So if you want, you can take a screenshot. If you want to come up, and Google list of intentional words, you can go ahead and do that. So this is broken into 3 parts. The first part is clarity. The second part is awareness and knowing your triggers. And the third part is, implementing and practicing what it is that we're working towards. So for funsies, you write down 3 words. I'll give you 3 words, but we're going to narrow it down. You can't have all 3. So if there's something that comes up naturally, fabulous, write it down. If you need a little bit of dredging and figuring out what that word might be, you can Google some. Oftentimes I get caught between maybe 2 words. If you have more than 3, it's going to be difficult to decide. The good news is if you write down 1 or 2 or 3 words and we go through these questions and you decide that those aren't the ones, you can always change it. All right. So the second question, why do you think this is a great word for you this year? You know, if you've chosen more than one, why is this a great word for you or words? And the third question, if you embodied this word daily, what would be different for you in an average day? And the fourth question, I know them probably going through this faster than you're able to write. Um, so you always, come back to it as needed. So the fourth question, how do you already live or embody this word? And then how do you not already live or embody this word? And for those of you who maybe need clarification on maybe what embody means, I just think about what are behaviors you engage in, what are ways you spend your time, how do you sort of physically move through the world, what are beliefs you have. List 10 things you could create or attract this year if you lived this word daily. The good news is there's no right or wrong answers to this. So, whatever you want to create or attract, right? The thing to keep in mind is that we're going to also develop a plan. So if you dream big, like I do. I have a tendency to overshoot. So if you want to create and attract $1 million in a year, it's like, I mean, okay. I mean, you can put that on there, absolutely. And then we're going to develop a plan. So be prepared. It's also okay as you're going through these for you to have a vague idea. You don't necessarily have to be incredibly specific because we're going to get a little bit more specific going forward. So you can say something like, I want to create or attract healthier relationships. Like that's pretty broad, right? Okay. And then we'll dig into what exactly might that look like. If you find yourself getting stuck or frustrated, or, you know, maybe you're flustered about things not really sitting with your nervous system, or, there's not that, that's it moment. That's okay too, right? You can always revisit this. Always, always, always. In fact, I am realizing that there was a couple of questions when I did this activity a few weeks ago. I haven't answered them, right? So you can always revisit. All right, we're going to move forward to the part 2. All right, so this is about building awareness so you know your trigger. And what I mean by that is that when you say the word, there's an immediate like clenching or tightness or nervousness about that thing. So the example she gives is if you choose wealth, one of your triggers might be shame. So you look at some financial mistakes you've made, and then you shame yourself, and then you get into this vicious cycle of why you can't have it, why you're not deserving. And, you get under the hamster wheel. So if the word that you've chosen, that it might kind of stir up some of your own stuff, your emotions, your thought process. Write them down. If you don't know, that's okay too. It might be the longer we go into this, it might be that you choose a word and 2 months down the road, you're like, oh, that's a trigger. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay, second question. What obstacles have kept you from living this word until now? What's been your barrier? What's been in your way? It might be a belief system or a phase of life or a relationship that took up a lot of energy, or there can be a lot of different obstacles. All right, this next part is tricky. And it's tricky because we're going to identify habits or practices you might want to incorporate into your life to embody more fully. And this can be a daily practice, a weekly practice, a monthly practice. And when I want to invite you into, if anybody's read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he uses sort of these 4 laws for creating a new habit. Um, and I've kind of created an acronym for it so that I can remember what they are. Um, it's OC. So O, obvious. So the habit that you're trying to develop, it has to be obvious. So you have to create a space or an environment or relationships where it's just sort of the easy choice. Sort of like if you're coming home from work and you're starving, the easy thing would be to go to grab fast food, right? But if you plan ahead, you have a protein bar in your car, right? It has to be obvious. Um, the S is satisfying. It has to bring a little bit, you got to get a little bit of a dopamine hit, right? You've got to be like, oh, yeah, that felt good, right? The E is easy. It has to be the easy choice. So if you're trying to eat healthier, or if you're trying to grow your relationships in healthy ways, it means saying no to some things, and it means saying yes to other things. So, for example, if you're trying to eat healthier, it means when you go to the grocery store, do not tempt yourself by buying the things you don't necessarily want to eat or that you don't think will sustain you. And I'm not going to identify foods because none of them are good or bad. It's just a matter of how they absorb and work with your body, right? The is attractive. The choice or the decision or the practice or the habit has to be attractive, something that you are drawn to. And so if it's a yoga class that maybe you don't really like doing yoga in a group of people, right? You're maybe self-conscious about it. So maybe you do it in your living room and that's more attractive. Or maybe it's like, buying some clothes that are supportive around yoga, right? It's like, oh, I feel good. And it's attractive for me to put these clothes on to do a thing because I just feel better. So when you're listing 5 new habits and practices, think about small things you can do, just small things. I don't want you to, this like when people talk about New Year's resolutions, it's like you have to go to the gym every day for 365 days. No, what if it was 2 minutes and in conjunction with something you already do, which makes the habit and the association even stronger? So, for example, if you say, a new habit that I want to engage with and practice more is mindfulness. Somebody might say, oh, you got to sit down for 20 minutes on a meditation cushion and do that because neuroscience says that's going to help build neural pathways. Okay, great. So, but how does that fit into my life? In 20 minutes, it makes me not want to do it. What can you do? Well, a simple practice that I have offered people that some people like and some people don't like is brushing your teeth. When you brush your teeth, instead of if you're doing other things or thinking about other things as you're in the middle of this process, what if you just noticed what the bristles felt like in your mouth and the toothpaste and got the microscope out for that one little thing that you do? So we're pairing things, right? It's a new practice with something you already do. I found this to be the most impactful for people because it's not something extra. So you break it into small little bits. It also might be that you don't quite know what you want to practice or what habits you want to incorporate. It might take a little bit of time, and that's okay too. I'm just going to make everything okay because everything we're bringing to the table, there's nothing wrong with it. We just got to figure out how to navigate it, right? Our inner compass. All right, we're going to move on. Like I said, you can always come back to this. All right, the part 3. This is planning ahead, right? So the vision, knowing your dreams. So these are sort of where the rubber meets the road. List at least 5 goals, big or small, that you'd like to accomplish this year based on the word of your choosing. And I'm going to also go back to this is my own personal philosophy, and you can take it for what it's worth, but I'm not really a goal person. I'm a process person. I used to be a goal person. Like, I'm going to run a half marathon. And that's great, but what if what if your body is saying, I don't like this and it is hurting every joint in my body, right? Um, or some really big life thing happens and you need to pivot. So I'm not a big goal person. However, we do need something to kind of help mark us and move us forward. So, what could they be that you could say yes to, knowing that you don't need to micromanage the how? Referencing Atomic Habits yet again, James Clear says something in his book that has resonated with me and will probably stick with me until the day I die. But he says, every decision you make is a vote for the person you wish to become. So every decision, right? And not that if you make a mistake or a poor decision, that is all of who you are. He's saying, be intentional as much as possible. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a kind of person that people rely on? Do you want to be the kind of person that people trust? Do you want to be the kind of person that uh, is welcoming and kind? Alrighty, we're going to move on to the next one. What would be a home run for you in the coming year? This can be a big dream, an amount of money, a way that you live each day. So Christine says, write as detailed and as imperfectly as you can. What would feel like a success? What would feel like a embodied, yeah, that's it? All right. So if you have gone through this entire exercise and you've identified one word or two words or three words, we actually now have to choose a word. So if the words that you chose initially aren't the ones that resonate after answering some of those questions, okay. So then go through what you've written down or what you've thought about and pick out the themes. What is the word that resonates most? All righty, we're gonna move on. Okay. So the question is sort of now what? We've gone through this exercise, and I mentioned multiple times that you can morph and change and evolve this word from now until December 2025, right? So you have a chunk of time to let this grow and evolve and change in you, and your understanding of it and how it applies to in your life. And there's ways in which we can move toward that word. So, first and foremost, for anything to stick, it has to be repetition, right? You have to have it in your mind's eye over and over and over again. And so that might be sharing your word with friends. That might be posting on social media. That might be a sticky note that you have on your mirror. That might be a reminder on your calendar. So it needs to be salient, needs to be in front of you often. Okay. Um, Number two is and this is a shameless plug. I almost didn't put it in here, but I thought, why not? The Support Squad is a new group that I've connected with my Stress to Strength group, or my Stress to Strength program. The Support Squad is really every other week we'll meet and we'll talk about ways that we are practicing our mind, body, soul um, uh, practices, so that it becomes a consistent group where we're meeting and actually manifesting and creating the life we want to live. So if our word is, well, just I don't want to tell you my word yet. If your word is community, or if your word is joy, that you have a regular group of people to bounce this off of and to talk about some struggles that are coming up, some barriers, some ways in which you're just like, I can't access that. What is going on? So this is an every other week meeting with people. It's online. So there's probably going to be people from all over the place. It's Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And you would also have access to, if you haven't already taken my Stress to Strength program, you would have access to that. It's 6 modules with a bonus module about, what is the mind? What is the body? What is the soul? How does it all connect? What's important about it? Why do I need it? Right. And then the third thing is reminders. So I mentioned you can put it on your calendar. You can put this word on your calendar. You can have like an accountability buddy who checks in with you regularly. I have one actually, and she and I have done this exercise for years, and it is a blast because I will, and we communicate often, but I will kind of sporadically just text her and be like, so um how's love coming? Or um what does peace look like today? just to get her thinking, you know. If she's not already in that mindset, then I like prompt her, and vice versa, right? So remember to celebrate the milestones as you prepare for the road ahead. These are small things, little teeny little things. They don't have to be gigantic. I know it says milestone, but it's sort of like, what are little things that happen throughout the days in your life that you can celebrate and use to help launch you into your future self. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's attention. And if you have any questions or anything, please reach out to me, lightingthepath.com. You can always email me. I'm around.